Hey everyone, welcome to another top 10 list. This week's top 10 list is going to be the conclusion of my graded notes top 10s. These are going to be the top 10 highest graded notes that I have. Now, I was very hesitant to do this one because when it comes to the higher grades, seeing them on camera is extremely difficult, seeing the subtle differences, but I figure at the very least I do have some examples and I do have the definitions. So even though you may not be able to see exactly what we're talking about here, by me discussing it, at least you'll get the feel for what we're talking about. All right. Last week we left off at choice very fine 35. This week we're going to start off at 40, extremely fine 40. And the definition there is there are three or more folds, one of which may be horizontal. So here is a 40, extremely fine 40. This one was by PCGS, 1928 $100 bill. Now, as I look at this note, I can see real light. There's a fold here. I can see a fold here. I believe it also has a center fold right here. So there's your three folds. If I look at the corner is not razor sharp. So the corner does show a little bit of handling. Actually, you can see a fold right here as well. And of course, it does have a little bit of ink on it. I wonder if they notated it. Yes, they did. They put ink on the back there. So yeah, looking at the back, here we go. Here's one hard fold, two, and then I think they may have counted the corners as the others. But anyway, that is a 40. So at a glance, it looks really good, but once you take it under close inspection, like I said, setting it like this, you're looking at it going, I don't see a problem with that. But yeah, once you, especially when you look at the back, that's when these light up right here. Okay, and having just so few of them, that's what puts it at a 40. So that is, I'd say number 10, but I think there's 12 notes. So we'll just call that one 40 and leave it at that. Next up is a choice extremely fine 45. And this says a note with two or three heavy folds, one of which may be horizontal. So the 40 was there are three or more folds. This one has two or three heavy folds, one of which may be horizontal. And what I've got here is, this is a fractional currency specimen note. So this side is just the overprint and it's marked specimen on it. You can see it's graded 45, extremely fine. This one is kind of interesting because you can see a heavy fold here. You can see a heavy fold here. Looks like there's also a fold here. And when you look at the top, there is a lot of wrinkling there. The corner is not razor sharp. So this one, I think, was generously given the 45, especially when you look at this side. This side, if this was me trying to grade this note, I would struggle to give this a 30. And yet they pulled this one and said 45. Like I said, there's one hard fold. And as I move this around, you can see this one. You can see right here looks to be a fold. You can see right here is a crease. So yeah, we're already past the 3 mark. So yeah, this would easily be less than a 40, but like I said, they gave this specimen note a 45. So who am I to argue? That's what they said about this particular note. And that's why it gets a little tougher to grade the higher end notes, because now you have to figure why they counted this and didn't count all of this. You know. Anyway, that's a 45, an example of a 45 that I have. The next step up would be 50, which is about uncirculated. And a 50 says the note has two heavier folds or light horizontal and vertical folds. The handling can be significant. That's what it says for a 50. I don't have a note graded 50, so I can't show you one. Next up would be a 53, which is about uncirculated, and it says a note with two vertical folds or a single horizontal fold may also have signs of handling. Next grade is a 55, about uncirculated, and it says this grade is commonly assigned to a note that has one fold or two or three corner folds throughout the design. Then we get the notes that I actually do have. Now we're talking about choice uncirculated 58, and the definition there is often a note with a single fold that crosses the design. So here is a 58, and as we start to look at this, this is what I'm seeing on this particular note. I am seeing wrinkling throughout the paper, which to me is a sign of circulation. I think they might be talking about that corner right there as far as having one single fold, but it says one single fold that crosses the design, and that's just a corner fold. So looking at this, pretty tough to determine it. Let's take a look at the back, because sometimes they show up a little bit better there. Aha, maybe right here. Maybe right here. That might be the one that they're talking about. Still, I have no argument with this being a 58. This one, I wouldn't have guessed it to be anything higher than that, but I'm looking at the wrinkling of the paper. To me, that shows circulation. And like I said, under close inspection, they may have been generous with the 58. Also, one thing I never really talked too much about was the EPQ designation. And here's what it says about EPQ. EPQ, an exceptional paper quality note, is, in the opinion of PMG graders, completely original. Okay? Original. That's the key word. It's original. EPQ notes will not have been physically, chemically, or materially processed to give the appearance of a higher grade. Read that as being pressed. Read that as being cleaned. Read that as someone bleaching a note or anything like that. But yes, cleaning, just getting the note wet changes the paper quality. So when you press the note after you get it wet, you have significantly changed the paper quality. So yeah, chemically, physically, or materially processed to give the appearance of a higher grade. Notes exhibiting normal wear and tear for their grade are eligible. So you don't need a perfect note, okay? You've seen some of mine that are fairly low grades that have EPQ. All notes graded very fine 20 and higher will be evaluated for the EPQ designation. Notes must qualify for the EPQ designation to grade gem uncirculated 65 and higher. One other aspect they have is the PMG star designation, and I don't have any of those. There would be a black star right here. And that would be, PMG assigns the star designation to notes with exceptional eye appeal for their assigned grade. While eye appeal is one of the most subjective characteristics of notes, there are general standards which numismatists typically use to define exceptional eye appeal. To receive a star from a PMG note, notes must exhibit exceptionally strong plate and or overprint embossing, vibrant ink color, and pristine paper quality exceeding the well-established standards used to determine the exceptional paper quality designation. So I do not have any PMG star designated notes. I just have the EPQ designated note, a couple of those anyway. Okay, but anyway, this one, like I said, was a 58 choice about uncirculated, and I understand that. Another 58, this particular one, you can see 58 EPQ, and my drooling as I talk. This one, if I remember right, I had a difficult time trying to figure out what it was, but I think right here in the light, is that? No, that's not. Let's look at the back of this note, and maybe we can see something there. Because I was quite surprised at this one receiving only a 58. I thought this note was really good. You want to talk about embossing? You can see the embossment of the seal through this note. That's how good this particular one is. Maybe that corner, maybe. And if it is, that's pretty weak. But I have a very difficult time trying to find a problem with this particular note. Maybe that's a fold. Maybe. I can't tell if this is a shadow or a fold. But yeah, I don't see it. They saw it. Now they will look at the notes under magnification. So, like I said, they gave this one a 58, and trying to figure out why is pretty tough. That's why I was so hesitant about doing this. Here's another 58. This one is great because it's a missing print error. So if you look at this one real close, you can see dead center right here. It looks like there was a fold dead center. It looks like this corner may have been bent at one point. But it's amazing looking at the back of this note. You look at the corners are all real good shape. But yeah, that's probably about it. It looks like there may have been a center fold. And if that's the case, that to me should have been a 60. To me, I would have said that this is at least a 60. When I say 60, according to the chart here, a 60 is considered uncirculated, and that would be a note with problems that may include toned paper, a small stain or fading. There will be handling issues, but there will be no folds through the design. That's what they call a 60. I don't have a 60 to show. Then, as predicted, as you get up in grades, they are so incremental. You can have a 61 uncirculated. And once you start talking about uncirculated notes, now you are almost talking about the printing process in and of itself. So a 61, it says the note is poorly centered and the margins come into the design. There may be counting marks, smudges, or other signs of handling. There will be no folds through the design. That's a 61. A 62 uncirculated, we are now talking the note is strictly uncirculated, but may have minor to moderate handling and or corner tip issues. There will be no folds, however. The margins may touch or come into the design. So once again, more than anything, they're grading how well the note was cut, how well the note was printed, and if the note had been handled. Well, of course the note was handled. They had to have been handled to get from where they were printed to the bank, and I say into circulation, but they call them uncirculated. The next thing is 63, which would be choice uncirculated, which is the centering is imperfect and the design may be flat. There may be several flaws, but there will be no folds. Here is a 63. This one is also a specimen right there. And if we look at this one, you can see that the top and bottom are not cut the same way. The sides, this one actually looks almost bowed. I don't know what the deal is with that, but because it's a specimen, that is probably why. These probably were hand cut. And if we're looking real close at the note, you're not going to see any folds in there at all. Taking a look at this side, you can see how the bleed through, which was intentional, and of course specimen there. The note itself, though, has no creases, no folds, and looks like just a little bit of discoloring. That's it. So maybe this one should have been a 62. Another 63 that I've got, 63 EPQ. This one, well, that's interesting. This one did not have EPQ. Oh, this one does have small edge tear at the left, which is interesting. That there is an edge tear, and they still gave it a 63 as well. Let's look at this side and see what we can find here. Is that it? Right here? And once again, you'd have to be under magnification to see that. Yeah, I think that's what they're talking about there. All right, anyway, here's a 63 EPQ. Now, 63 EPQ, once again, if you look at the left to right centering, there is not, that is not correct. The left to right centering on this bill is pretty rough. The bill is still bright. It looks like that just might be part of the paper right there. But yeah, that is going to be the biggest issue with that. Of course, there's not going to be any folds. There's not going to be any creases to find in this particular note. But once again, they are pretty much grading the design portion and the cutting portion, the creation of the note. They're calling it 63 because it was cut crooked. The next stage would be choice uncirculated 64, which says the centering is off on one or two sides. Some handling may be evident, but there must be no folds in the design. And here is a 64 choice uncirculated. Now, looking at this note should be perfect condition-wise, okay? It's not going to have any folds. It's not going to have any marks. You're not going to find any circulation. This one's just my neat error that's underprinted. Gas pump error. That's how you're supposed to find gas pump errors, by the way, when the number's missing. Anyway, this particular note, like I said, condition-wise should be perfect. And the 64, once again, has to do with the fact that the note would have never been perfect, because you can see this side here is thinner than this side, and the top is slightly thinner than the bottom. Just slightly. It's enough to notice with the naked eye, but it's not distracting. That's why I got the 64 instead of a 63. Even checking the back of this note, let's look here. The top on this one is thinner than the bottom, and the left side is wider than the right side. So yeah, you can see why that one was given the 64 rather than a 65. Like I said, condition-wise, great note, but the problem with the note is it wasn't printed perfect to begin with. All right, so that's a 64. Here's another 64, and this one amazes me because the only problem I see with this note is right here, and this is called a roller mark. When they put notes through a counting machine, sometimes the rollers, they're round rubber rollers that pull the money through the machine, and that is the mark that you're going to see from there. Now you can see this one's a 64 EPQ. Let's see, one of these said something about a roller mark, if I remember right. But according to this, let's see, the centering, like I said, a 64 is, the centering is off on one of the two sides. Some handling may be evident, but there must be no folds in the design. So there are no folds. The centering, maybe top to bottom, the top looks a little wider. Maybe left to right, the left looks just a little wider. But the biggest glaring issue on this one is that roller mark. So looking here, yeah, the top is thinner than the bottom. I can see that with the naked eye. Same thing left to right. The right is thinner, or the left is thinner than the right. So yeah, I can see where this one ended up getting that 64. Another 64 on the list. This particular one, 64 choice PPQ. Now, PCGS doesn't use EPQ, exceptional paper quality. They use PPQ, which stands for, where is it on here? PPQ is, what is it? I don't even remember what PPQ is now. Not professional. It's not pristine. I don't think it's even perfect paper quality. But anyway, it's the same designation. And this particular one, it's always neat to see a 64 on the older notes. Here's a 1935. And once again, no sign of handling, but if you look at the top and the bottom, the top is wider than the bottom, the left is wider than the right. Therefore, you're getting the 64 rather than a 65, and it's even more evident on the back. Then we get to our 65s. Now, let's see, notes graded 20 to 64 are eligible for PMG's EPQ designation if they meet the standards described below. When you get to 65, notes must qualify for PMG's exceptional paper quality to be designated 65 or higher. So here is a 65 EPQ, of course. Looking at this particular note, a 65. The note may have one or two minor distractions as a result of minor handling. The centering must be above average. So looking at the centering, well, first and foremost, there are no creases in the note. There are no folds, because if there were, it wouldn't be a 60-something. So we don't even have to check that. This particular note, you're kidding me. Is that what I think it is? Is it? Do I have a pen handy here? No. Look right here. Are you guys seeing this? That looks like a counter stamp. I gotta look at this with my eye. I am quite certain that's a counter stamp on the face. I mean, look at the white line and you can see where it's broken. So this note has a counter stamp on it. That's amazing. Okay, 65 EPQ PMG. Let's read it again. The note may have one or two minor distractions as a result of minor handling. The centering must be above average. All right, the centering is above average, yes. No folds, no creases, no nothing like that. I wonder if they're saying the minor distraction is what caused my major distraction, the counter stamp on there. And it makes me wonder how much higher this note would have gotten if it didn't have that. And it's interesting that it's only on the one side. I don't see the bottom part of the counter stamp. But maybe that's where the strap itself was, so there'd only be that one little part there. It's amazing when you hold a note under the light what you see. Looking at the back of this one, and we are good to go here. Centering is pretty good. All right, so that's a 65. Let's see, 66. There may be slight more handling than a 67 EPQ note. The centering must be above average. That's gem uncirculated. 67 is superb gem uncirculated. A note with above average margins and registration. There may be minor handling. This is a 67. So yeah, this one is interesting because it's not done on the same type of paper. This one is actually a fantasy build. It's not a real note, which is why it's able to grade as high as it is, because it was never bound for circulation. It was designed to be a collector's item. And with that being said, I find this interesting because look at the margins. The margins aren't 67. A note with above average margins and registration. And yeah, those notes are obviously wrong. But this one was given the 67 EPQ. 68, which of course I don't have, the margins and registration are slightly off center. They may be very minor handling. 69 says this note is nearly visually indistinguishable from a 70, but the margins and registration may appear slightly off center. And once again, when they're talking about margins and registration, now you're talking about the third print and how that is compared to the centering of the third print and where it's supposed to be on the location. And then you finally get a 70 gem uncirculated, and it has the star, the highest grade assigned. Notes must have no evidence of handling, visible at 5 times magnification. The margins and registration must appear centered to the unaided eye. Notes must qualify for PMG star designation to be graded 70. So 70 is as high as it goes. So that's what I've got for the higher end notes. Now, like I said, on camera, these are very hard to see, and even off camera with the naked eye, the differences can be tough. So yeah, bringing a loop with you just to make sure, that's kind of important to do. All right, guys, if you learned anything new, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. Love reading all your comments. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.